God's chosen ones. Beloved chosen one. Listen carefully. This is not by chance. Heaven has orchestrated this moment. Everything around you has gone still because this message was meant to find you now. You have been marked, not by the world, not by man, but by heaven's own flame. The seal on your spirit cannot be seen with human eyes, but every angel in the realm of glory recognizes it. Every demon in hell trembles when you enter a room because of it. You are not ordinary. You are not forgotten. You are God's chosen one, and heaven will not pass you by. Since the day you took your first breath, something in the spirit realm shifted. The enemy took notice. The angels took position. A mark was placed, not because of what you had done, but because of what you were born to carry. You don't carry potential. You carry prophetic purpose. There's a difference. Potential waits. Purpose moves. And now heaven is telling you, move. You have walked through storms that would have crushed others. You've been surrounded by people who never truly saw you. You've questioned your own worth because the world didn't validate you. But hear this. What heaven marks, the world often misunderstands. The crown wasn't put on your head by popularity. It was forged in pain and sealed with divine fire. Chosen one. There's a reason the enemy fought your childhood. There's a reason you've survived betrayals that shattered others. There's a reason you were misunderstood in every room you entered. That reason is this. You were never meant to blend in. You were meant to stand apart. And now that the hour is upon you, heaven is stirring everything to remind you, the mark is still there. You are not behind. You are right on time. The enemy tried to delay you. Distractions were sent. Temptations were placed in your path. Even false voices tried to confuse you. But still you heard God. Still you sensed the pull. Still you kept going. That's because those marked by God have a spiritual homing beacon. No matter how lost they feel, they are never out of reach. You, chosen one, are one of them. There's a fire resting on you that hell cannot quench. You may feel broken, bruised, or tired, but you are still burning. That fire is the proof. God doesn't mark the perfect. He marks the willing, and your heart, even in its pain, has remained open to Him. That's why He chose you. That's why angels won't pass you by. You have been set apart for impact. Others can scroll past, but not you. Others can ignore this message, but not you. Why? Because when you hear this, your spirit leaps. Your chest tightens. Tears press against your eyelids. That's not emotion, it's recognition. Your soul remembers. You've been hearing whispers in your spirit that something is coming, that God is near. This is confirmation. You were marked for such a time as this. It's time to stop apologizing for the favor on your life. It's time to stop minimizing your light to make others comfortable. The mark of God demands that you stand boldly. You were not marked to be muted. You were not anointed to be average. You were not chosen to be cautious. You were born to break patterns, destroy strongholds, and walk in fire without burning. When you walk into a room, atmospheres shift. People can't explain why they're drawn to you or why some resist you immediately. It's not you. It's the seal on you. The angels know it. Demons know it. Even those asleep in the spirit can feel it. You can't hide anymore. And you're not supposed to. You were marked to lead, not linger. Chosen one. Type 999 in the comments if you feel this burning in your spirit. Let the kingdom of darkness know that you are awake. Let heaven see that you recognize your own calling. Declare it now. I am marked, and the angels will not pass me by. Don't keep this message to yourself. Someone else is crying out in silence, thinking they're the only one. Share this right now. Like it. Comment. Send it to someone who's been doubting their purpose. Be the messenger. Be the fire starter. Be the one who awakens the marked. And if you haven't already, subscribe. Not because of me, but because this is a stream of divine instruction. What's coming next will not just comfort you, it will commission you. There's more. Heaven's blueprint for your life is still unfolding. You haven't seen anything yet. You have been marked. That means you are seen. You are called. You are protected. And above all, you are unstoppable. You carry something that terrifies the gates of hell. The seal placed upon your life is not symbolic. It is spiritual law. That mark on you is heaven's legal claim that says, this one belongs to the kingdom, and the enemy knows it. That's why you've been targeted in ways others couldn't understand. The seal you bear has never gone unnoticed by the darkness. You may not have seen it yourself, but the moment you stepped into this world, the spiritual realm took notice. That mark is not a decoration, it's a declaration. It says that your life is under divine assignment. It says you have access to angelic covering, insight, and supernatural authority. You've been asking yourself why the warfare has been so intense, so precise, so relentless. It's not because you're weak. It's not because you're cursed. It's because you're carrying something. Heaven stamped and hell fears what you might become if you ever fully awaken to what's inside of you. There are plans the enemy crafted to derail you before you ever came into alignment with God's purpose. He saw your seal and launched an early assault. Attacks before your teenage years. Traumas that should have broken you. Loneliness that felt like abandonment. But what the enemy failed to realize is this. The seal of heaven doesn't break under pressure. It glows brighter. Your greatest pain was actually a setup for your greatest clarity. That seal terrifies darkness. Not because of who you are in the flesh, but because of who backs you in the spirit. The Lord of hosts stamped his claim on your destiny, and that intimidates every plan of destruction. Demons recognize marked ones. They know your lineage. They know your potential. They know your prayers, even the ones you haven't spoken aloud. They know the pattern. Marked ones become movement makers. The seal doesn't mean life will be easy. It means you'll walk through fire and come out with no smell of smoke. It means you'll be hit, but not taken out. It means you'll be wounded, but not wasted. Because everything in your journey is being worked together not randomly, but precisely by a God who doesn't miss details. Your seal is a divine fingerprint, and that fingerprint activates spiritual protocols the enemy cannot override. That's why strange things happen around you. Ever notice how some people get uncomfortable in your presence without reason? How some conversations suddenly shift when you enter a room? How you feel tension that no one else seems to notice? That's because the atmosphere recognizes you before people do. Spiritual systems respond to the marked, even when humans remain blind. And make no mistake, the enemy has tried to remove the seal. He's whispered lies to convince you it was never real. He's used voices close to you to make you question your worth. He's orchestrated false failures to convince you that your calling was imagined. But the seal is not based on your feelings. It is rooted in spiritual reality. And spiritual reality doesn't shift with emotions. You've survived attacks that were engineered in spiritual realms long before they manifested in your life. The dreams, the nightmares, the anxiety, the random waves of heaviness they were all attempts to confuse your discernment. But they failed. Because a marked one is never truly alone, even in your silence. Angels stood guard. Even in your depression, heaven dispatched reinforcements. Even in your rebellion, God whispered your name at midnight. That mark has kept you from falling into places you weren't built to survive. Others around you seem to flourish in sin, in cycles, in comfort, but not you. Why? Because the seal disqualified you from certain roads. You weren't created to blend into Babylon. You were wired to disrupt it. That's why you couldn't enjoy what they enjoyed. That's why sin never settled right in your spirit. You were grieved where others felt free. You cried while others danced. Because you were always different, and the seal wouldn't let you forget it. You've carried the weight of discernment for years. You saw through people before they revealed themselves. You felt when someone's spirit didn't align even when everyone else was fooled. You were called too deep, too sensitive, too serious. But the truth is, the seal didn't allow you to live blind. It sharpened your spiritual sight, because marked ones walk with watchman vision. You weren't paranoid. You were discerning. And this seal isn't temporary. It wasn't placed on you by accident or emotion. It was written into the pages of your destiny. You are a scroll that heaven authored, and no amount of detours can erase your name from God's plan. You've made mistakes, but you're still marked. You've fallen short, but you're still sealed. You've doubted yourself, but heaven never doubted its decision. This seal is why some doors had to close. It's why some relationships had to end. It's why some places became uncomfortable. God wasn't punishing you, He was preserving what was marked. There are some environments that can't handle the radiance of the sealed. You were not made to fit where compromise reigns. You were marked for consecration, not assimilation. You've always been different. Now it's time to understand why. You are a signpost in the Spirit, a walking proof that God still selects, still seals, still sets apart. The seal is more than identity, it's authority. It means you don't need permission to move in your calling. It means you don't have to wait for applause to begin walking. The mark already gave you clearance. What are you waiting for? Stop hiding behind confusion. Stop apologizing for what you carry. Stop shrinking to make others comfortable. The seal has already been seen by heaven and by hell. Now it's time that you see it too. You weren't the easiest to find. Chosen one. But God found you anyway. When others were picked by talent or popularity, you were selected by divine design. When the crowd walked left, you felt the tug to go right. You've always felt the pull, even when you couldn't explain it. That pull, it was heaven. It was the searchlight of grace, refusing to let you be lost in the noise. While others wandered without anchor, your name was already echoing through heaven's courts. You were already marked for recovery. There were nights you couldn't sleep, not because of worry, but because your spirit was restless. You felt something deeper, something sacred. You sensed that there was more to your life, more to your pain, more to your journey. And you were right. The ache you've carried wasn't weakness, it was awakening. That ache was the signal that you had been found when others were lost. Your detours were not defeats, they were reroutes under sovereign watch. Every time you slipped, grace caught you. Every time you ran, mercy pursued. You didn't find God, He found you. You didn't choose Him first, He chose you before you ever spoke His name. Before your hands lifted in worship, His hands marked your life. You thought you were just surviving, but no. You were being summoned, People often wonder why you haven't broken down permanently, why you keep coming back stronger, why you never stay down long. It's because you are under surveillance. Heaven watches the marked closely. You are not forgotten. You are not just one of many. You are one of the few who were found rescued, retrieved when the world had written them off. That's why you feel such weight in your soul. You carry the kind of anointing that doesn't fit shallow spaces. You tried to quiet it. You tried to ignore it. You tried to pretend you were normal. But the mark never fades. And the call never stops. Even in your silence, your spirit kept crying out. Even in the crowd, God's eyes were still on you. And don't think the delay was denial. The delay was preparation. God has been clearing the path, removing counterfeit options, eliminating distractions. He wanted to make sure that when he called again, nothing else would pull louder than his voice. That's what's happening now. This isn't just another message. It's a divine announcement. You were found when others were lost. And now, it's your time to rise. You have outgrown old environments. What used to comfort now convicts. What used to entertain now irritates your spirit. That's not boredom, it's breakthrough. Your spiritual palate has matured. You don't crave the same things anymore because God is shifting your appetite for glory. And with that shift comes a deeper awareness. You were not just saved. You were summoned. Some didn't make it. You know their names. People who started with you. People who had more talent. People who had every opportunity. And yet, here you are still standing, still hearing, still burning. Why? Because you were found. When others drowned in depression, grace threw you a rope. When others faded into numbness, God sparked your sensitivity. You are proof that He still retrieves what the world throws away. This finding is not random. It is strategic. God needs voices like yours, carriers like you, messengers who walk with limp but still move with power. You've been entrusted with fire, not to hold, but to release. The mark on you means you will never again be satisfied with shallow faith. You've seen too much. You've felt too much. You've survived too much to go back now. Even your tears have been collected. Not one has been wasted. Your midnight breakdowns were holy meetings. Angels stood silently as you poured your heart out in confusion. But heaven never panicked. Because heaven knew, this one is marked. This one is coming through. This one will emerge with authority. You were in hiding, but now the call is breaking through the silence. There are those who will never understand your journey. Let them talk. Let them question. Their ignorance does not cancel your anointing. God didn't go through them to reach you. He came straight for you. That's what chosen love looks like. Unfiltered, direct, unmistakable. And now that you've been found, the heavens are releasing instructions. This season is about movement, obedience, clarity, and above all, alignment. You cannot afford to go back to what dulled your discernment. You cannot keep explaining your calling to those who were never meant to understand it. You are not obligated to carry what nearly crushed you. Release it, because what's ahead requires space, surrender, and spiritual sharpness. You were never lost to God, not for a moment. Even in your worst seasons, you were tracked by glory. He knew your address when you forgot who you were. And now, heaven is moving to reintroduce you to yourself, to the world, and to your destiny. Comment below. I am found. Don't just scroll past like this is another video. If your spirit stirred, even for a moment, respond. Heaven honors obedience, even in something as small as a comment. When you type, "I am found," you are doing more than engaging a post. You are making a prophetic declaration in the face of every lie that said you were forgotten. You are activating alignment, signaling to heaven and hell alike. I know who I am now. Don't let the moment pass you. The spiritual realm is watching for a response. Let yours be bold. You've carried this question quietly. Why do I never seem to belong? No matter how hard you've tried to adjust, to fit in, to be like everyone else, there's always been a subtle barrier between you and the world around you. It's not arrogance. It's not pride. It's the seal. It's the evidence of heaven's hand on your life. You were never supposed to blend in because you were called to stand apart. The rejection you faced was never about you being unworthy. It was about spiritual misalignment. You were trying to find home in places not built to hold you. The tables you were excluded from weren't rejections, they were redirections. God was sparing you from spaces that would have diluted your anointing. Every time they walked away, every time the room went cold, every time the invitations stopped coming, it was grace in disguise. You tried to explain yourself, justify your presence, dim your glow to maintain peace. But peace that costs your identity is not peace, it's prison. The rejection wasn't punishment, it was proof. Proof that your spirit was never meant to conform. You are called to disrupt, to ignite, to reform. That's why familiarity made you restless. That's why mediocrity made you sick. That's why the crowd always made you feel invisible. Because you weren't designed for acceptance, you were chosen for assignment. There's a sacred isolation that comes with the mark. It feels like loneliness, but it's not. It's a divine carving away, a pulling back to prepare you. It's in the quiet places that God whispers secrets to the marked. It's in the silence that He shapes you for what others cannot carry. You weren't overlooked, you were hidden. Hidden for preservation. Hidden for preparation. Hidden until the appointed time. You are not misunderstood because you're difficult. You're misunderstood because your language is different. You speak in legacy, while others speak in trends. You see in seasons, while others see in moments. You walk with eternity echoing in your steps. That's not strangeness. That's sacredness. It's what happens when someone is set apart before birth and touched by fire. Your difference is not a liability. It is your divine distinction. There is power in your uniqueness. God didn't clone you, He carved you. Every quirk, every gift, every instinct designed for your role in His plan. You were built for assignments others would collapse under. You were given sight others would misuse. That's why you never fit in, because you were born to stand out for heaven's glory. Think about it. From an early age, you saw things others missed. You felt things others ignored. You questioned what everyone else accepted, and at times that made you doubt yourself. You wondered if maybe something was wrong with you. But nothing was wrong. Everything was right. You were simply awake in a world that was asleep. And when light walks among shadows, it will always be resisted. Even those closest to you didn't fully see you. They saw pieces, gifts, talents, potential, but they didn't grasp the weight of your spirit. That's okay. They weren't assigned to recognize the fullness of your mark. Some are in your life to support you, others to sharpen you, but few are graced to understand the magnitude of what you carry. That's why you've had to walk certain roads alone, because the calling was custom and the preparation had to be private. Your resistance to conformity isn't rebellion, it's revelation. Something in you refuses to follow the crowd because something greater in you knows the crowd is not your destination. You were built for higher ground, not to look down, but to lift up, not to isolate, but to intercede. Your elevation is not for status, it's for service. You were marked to be a voice in a wilderness, not an echo in a hallway. Yes, it's been painful. The misunderstandings, the mislabeling, the misplaced loyalty, but none of it has been wasted. Every tear has watered the soil of your next. Every silent scream has been heard in heaven. Every empty room has become a sanctuary where God trained you in stealth. You were forged in obscurity, but you are emerging in clarity. This separation is not random. It's not cruel. It's sacred. God separates what He intends to elevate. You're being drawn away from the noise, not to punish you, but to purify your vision. The distractions that once thrilled you no longer satisfy because your spirit is maturing. You're beginning to crave what aligns, not just what entertains. You're no longer satisfied with surface. You're going deep because you were marked for depth. And understand this, the more distinct your call, the more severe your preparation. God doesn't train His warriors the way He trains the crowd. You are not in boot camp, you're in battlefield briefing. Every rejection, every lonely night, every unanswered question, it was building your discernment. Heaven has invested too much in you to let you blend in now. You've seen too much to unsee. You've felt too much to forget. You've always asked why you don't feel at home in normal spaces. It's because you were called to pioneer new ones. You carry the blueprint for places that don't exist yet. That weight you feel, that pressure, its purpose, pushing against the borders of your comfort zone. God is expanding your capacity by shaking your surroundings. The unfamiliar is your new normal. The misunderstood is your new mantle. The path you walk won't be paved by public applause, but by private obedience. And in that obedience, you will find the reward, not fame, but fulfillment, not acceptance, but alignment. You never fit in, because you were called to fit the mold of heaven's design, not man's expectations. And now, more than ever, it's time to embrace that difference. Let it shine. Let it roar. Let it lead. There are angels assigned specifically to you. Chosen one. You have never walked alone, not for a moment. Even when you felt abandoned, even when you thought no one saw you, even when your prayers felt like they were bouncing off the ceiling, in the unseen realm, there were divine beings dispatched on your behalf. Angels moved at the sound of heaven's voice over your life, not because you were perfect, but because you were marked. This is what few understand. When God sets you apart, He assigns assistants tailored to your mission. These are not generic forces. These are strategic messengers, celestial warriors who guard your steps, war against unseen threats, and minister to you when your soul is weary. If you could see the battles that have been fought over you, you would never question your worth again. Some of those close calls in your life, they weren't lucky escapes, they were divine interventions. The near accidents, the sudden shifts, the inexplicable peace in the middle of chaos, all evidence that angels had taken position around you. They are stationed where you go, responding not to your perfection, but to your position in the kingdom. You may not feel angelic presence, but they feel your calling. They recognize the seal on your life, and because of that seal, their mission is clear. protect the promise. Their assignment is to make sure that what God placed in you reaches full expression. They don't answer to the voice of fear. They don't flinch at demonic intimidation. They respond to the command of heaven. And that command is, cover this one. Guard this one. Stay near this one. Think back. Remember those nights you almost gave up but didn't. Remember the moment you were about to make the wrong decision, and suddenly something held you back. That wasn't coincidence. That was coverage. That was heaven's guardrail. You've been surrounded, even in seasons when you felt exposed. You are not too broken. You are not too far gone. You are not a lost cause. You are heavily covered, because what you carry is a threat to hell and a treasure to heaven. This is not poetic encouragement, it's spiritual reality. Your prayers are not hitting walls. They are hitting coordinates in heaven, and angels are moving at the speed of obedience. You are not fighting alone. That's why you keep surviving things meant to take you out. You are under supernatural escort. You are surrounded in ways you cannot measure. And that's why the attacks against you have been so intense, because the enemy senses the scale of what's on your life. But hear this. Intensity is proof of investment. The weight of warfare confirms the weight of what you carry. You don't have to manufacture strength. The angels reinforce what God has spoken. They whisper truth when your mind battles lies. They bring messages when your spirit grows tired. You are not just protected, you are partnered with the unseen. This is a holy alliance, a heavenly reinforcement for an earthly assignment. So walk boldly, speak with authority, move with confidence. You are backed. You are covered. You are not alone. And if this message has confirmed something deep in your spirit, let it breathe. Like it. Share it. Let someone else who's been doubting their value see that they too are surrounded. You don't know whose life you might help pull back from the edge just by pressing share. Be a vessel. Be a link in someone else's chain of redemption. Subscribe if you haven't already. Not out of obligation, but out of alignment. Because messages like this aren't entertainment, they're divine reminders. And you need a steady flow of those reminders in a world that wants you distracted and spiritually numb. And if you feel led, consider supporting this ministry. Whether it's a small seed or a significant offering, you are not just giving to content, you're investing in a movement of truth and awakening. You're helping this sound reach more marked ones across the earth. But above all, remember this. Angels are stationed because of you. You are covered because you are called. You are protected because you are purposed. And you are never, ever walking alone. The watchers have not looked away. From the first breath you took, certain eyes in the spirit realm have never blinked. You have lived your entire life under the observation of heaven's watchers, those angelic beings who are more than mere messengers. They are guardians of timelines, observers of prophecy, and protectors of destiny. And chosen one. They have been tracking your path. This may sound mysterious, but let your spirit lean in. You were born into a war, not of flesh and blood, but of light and darkness. And the moment your soul was marked, the watchers were activated. You have never walked unseen. Even in your wilderness, your name echoed in heaven's watchtower. Even in your rebellion, your coordinates were known in the angelic realm. These watchers are not passive. They do not observe for curiosity, they observe for accountability. They ensure the enemy cannot gain unauthorized access. They report movements. They witness decisions. They await divine command. And in your life, they have been steadily watching, not to condemn, but to confirm, this one is still chosen. That time you cried out and felt nothing. They were still there. That moment, you almost slipped into what would have wrecked your soul. They were still stationed. You are a known quantity in the unseen realm. The enemy fears what you might fully become. And heaven is still watching for the moment you fully awaken. You've been seen. Chosen one. You've been known. There are moments you thought God was silent. But silence is not absence. Silence is often the sound of heaven holding its breath, waiting to see if you will choose obedience over comfort. And the watchers, they record those choices, your sacrifices, your hesitations, your breakthroughs. They are all being documented, not for judgment, but for legacy. You may feel unseen by people, but not by heaven. While others celebrate popularity, God celebrates obedience. The watchers don't track your followers, they track your faith. They don't count applause, they count surrender. And you, even in your weakness, have given God something real. That's why you're still being watched, not because you're a liability, but because you are still the one He chose. Every time you felt overlooked, it was actually divine concealment. Every door that shut in your face wasn't rejection, it was redirection. The watchers saw what you couldn't. They saw who would misuse your heart, who would distract your mind, who would delay your purpose, and they stood their ground. You don't need to grieve the exits. You were protected in ways you'll only understand later. The watchers are not only guarding your past, they're aligning your future. They go ahead of you, preparing paths. They whisper warnings you call intuition. They orchestrate delays that feel like inconvenience, but are actually divine intervention. You are not late. You are right on schedule, because the watchers have not allowed you to detour beyond recovery. So walk with reverence. Move with awareness. You are not just seen by God. You are monitored for movement. And right now, the shift is happening. Heaven is leaning in. The watchers are alert. The prophetic winds are stirring. Why? Because the time of hiding is ending. The time of rising is here. You can feel it, can't you? That stirring in your soul. That's not emotion, that's activation. Chosen one. If you can feel this truth thundering in your spirit right now, comment the number 77 below. That's your sign. That's your agreement. That's your declaration in the face of every delay and every demon. I am seen. I am marked. I am rising. You don't need a full sentence. Just the number, 77, a symbol of completion and covenant. A number that testifies, I know who I am now. The watchers haven't blinked. The angels haven't left. Heaven hasn't changed its mind about you. You are still chosen. You are still marked. And nothing the enemy planned has been able to erase what God wrote. You are one of the ones heaven will not let go. There are those who taste a moment of divine encounter and walk away untouched, unmoved, but not you. You are one of the rare ones who, even when trying to walk in another direction, feels the unrelenting pull of eternity at your core. You are one of those that God refuses to release, not because of favoritism, but because of assignment. You are tethered not to religion, not to fear, but to purpose. There's something about your name that doesn't fade in the spirit. It keeps returning to heaven's lips. Your name is not a whisper, it is a weight. There are blueprints connected to your identity, kingdom projects that cannot move forward without your yes. This is why you've been unable to disappear, why you've tried to numb the call, mute the voice, shut down the sensitivity, but it keeps returning, louder than before. You don't get to walk away from the anointing like everyone else. You don't get to stay broken in peace. You don't get to live numb and unnoticed. You are one of the kept ones, kept not by obligation, but by divine obsession. You are not disposable. You are irreplaceable in the architecture of God's intent. You've been drafted into a holy war, and heaven refuses to release you from your post. That's why you've been caught in what feels like constant tension. 1 foot in comfort, 1 foot in calling. But comfort never satisfies. It soothes for a moment, but then the stirring returns. That's not confusion, it's conviction. It's the ache of the chosen who can no longer pretend. Once your eyes have seen the edge of glory, nothing less will ever satisfy again. God's refusal to let you go is not cruelty, it's mercy. Because He knows what you were made for. He knows the damage of your delay. He sees the lives attached to your voice, your obedience, your story. That's why He keeps visiting you in dreams. That's why random reminders of your calling interrupt your day. That's why you cry during worship without understanding why. You are one of the ones marked by proximity. There's a sacred discomfort that wraps around those like you. You may be able to go through the motions for a season, but eventually it crumbles. Because you were not made for routines, void of glory. You were not made for quiet disobedience that looks like peace. You were made to burn and fire. Chosen one. Refuses to be hidden for long. You've tried to forget, haven't you? Tried to bury the visions, the prophetic words, the moments where the Spirit shook your body, but they rise again. You hear a sound. You feel a name. You're reminded of something you haven't thought about in years, and just like that, the flame is back. Because you are being kept. Some people are content with surface, but surface never held you. From the start, your spirit craved depths, and the more you tried to settle for shallow, the more painful the disconnect became. You are allergic to average. That's not pride, it's alignment. Your DNA remembers Eden. You carry the memory of glory in your bones. That's why normal feels like a cage. God is not angry at your delays, but He is unwilling to allow you to waste what He invested in you. He remembers your prayers, the promises you made when no one else was watching, the tears you shed with no audience. Heaven doesn't forget the surrendered. You may forget your calling, but heaven doesn't. The covenant is still alive, even when you tried to walk away. There are people who look whole, but are fractured. You, on the other hand, have walked through hell and still carry light. Not because of your strength, but because God kept His grip on you. When you slipped, He held tighter. When you rebelled, He whispered louder. When you doubted, He affirmed deeper. You've been surrounded by relentless grace. This grace doesn't let go. It interrupts. It collides. It disrupts everything that tries to bury the mark on your life. You are not like the rest, and you never will be. You were forged differently. The refining process you've walked through wasn't punishment, it was preservation. God was preparing a vessel that could carry unusual glory. This is why you couldn't die in the trauma, why you couldn't lose your mind in the heartbreak, why the betrayal didn't silence your voice. Because there's a divine insistence wrapped around your life. You are not the one. Heaven watches from a distance. You are the one heaven leans into. Close. Intentional. Guarded. Kept. You were not left behind. You were held back for the right moment. Some doors didn't open because the room wasn't ready for your mantle. Some relationships didn't work because they would have mishandled your heart. Some platforms were withheld because your foundation needed time. It wasn't rejection, it was strategy. You're not late. You're aligned. And now, something in your soul is awakening. Slowly, steadily. The numbness is breaking. The voice you once silenced is rising again. The passion you buried under disappointment is resurfacing. You are not just remembering, you are reigniting. Because heaven hasn't changed its mind. You are still kept, still covered, still called. Whether you accept it today or wrestle for years, know this: God is not letting go. You are one of His own, one of His vessels, one of His chosen. The seal is still glowing. The angels are still guarding. The watchers are still watching. And the voice is still calling. You've wondered why the intensity of your trials seems so out of proportion. Why every step forward feels immediately contested. Why peace rarely arrives without a price. But chosen one, it is not a coincidence. You are under a concentrated attack not because you are weak, but because you are dangerous to darkness. Hell does not waste artillery on those who pose no threat. You have been targeted because you are marked. The warfare around your life is a reaction to the weight of what you carry. You felt the pressure in your health, in your relationships, in your finances, in your mind. At times, it's felt unbearable. And yet, here you are, still breathing, still believing, still pressing forward, even if only by inches. That endurance isn't natural. It's spiritual. It is evidence that you are carried by something eternal. Ephesians 6:12 makes it clear. For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world. Your battle is not random, it is ranked. The resistance has come because your identity threatens demonic systems. You are not just another soul trying to survive. You are a key, a weapon, a light in territories long held by shadows. And those territories, they know you're coming. That's why the enemy attacked your confidence first. He wanted to rob your clarity. If he could make you question your worth, your authority, your identity, he could delay your impact. He doesn't need to destroy you, to stop you. He just needs to confuse you long enough to keep you from moving. But what he didn't expect is that even in confusion, you would still hear the call. You are a disruptor. That's not poetic language, it's spiritual strategy. You shift rooms without opening your mouth. You destabilize demonic atmospheres simply by walking in alignment. You carry an anointing that repels darkness. This is why spiritual heaviness often tries to surround you, because you've become a target for enemy containment. But remember this, 1 Peter 5:8 warns, be sober, be vigilant, because your adversary, the devil, as a roaring lion, walketh about, seeking whom he may devour. He's seeking, not guaranteed to devour. The key is vigilance, awareness, discernment. And you, chosen one, have been growing sharper. Every attack has refined your senses. Every trial has trained your eyes to see through the fog. When you face spiritual attacks, don't just ask why. Ask what is being threatened. What assignment is about to activate? What region is about to be reclaimed? What chain is about to be broken? Attacks don't come in empty seasons. They come when movement is near. That pressure you feel, it's the resistance that precedes breakthrough. Jesus himself experienced this. In Matthew 4, before launching his ministry, he was led into the wilderness by the Spirit to be tested by the devil. The timing was precise. The pressure was intense. But the victory was prophetic. It set the stage for the release of the miraculous. Likewise, the enemy has sensed your momentum and tried to send wilderness experiences to wear you down. But like Jesus, you carry a response. It is written, you are not defenseless. You are not voiceless. The word is your weapon. Prayer is your strategy. Worship is your warfare. The enemy may be relentless, but your covering is eternal. No weapon formed against you shall prosper. Isaiah 54:17 declares. Notice it doesn't say the weapon won't form. It says it won't prosper. It won't finish what it started. You are divinely insured, covered not just by angels, but by covenant, sealed not just by faith, but by blood. The blood of Jesus is not symbolic, it is legal evidence in the courts of heaven. It speaks on your behalf. Hebrews 12:24 says the blood of Jesus speaks better things than that of Abel. That means every accusation, every lie, every attack must bow to the testimony of the blood. That blood is why you survived. It's why the accident didn't kill you. It's why the breakdown didn't end you. It's why you're still standing, even after everything. You are living proof that covered people still bleed, but they don't die in their wounds. You were preserved through pain, because purpose refused to let you go. The enemy has watched you closely, and each time you rise again, he grows more agitated, because every recovery is a reminder. You are still chosen. Every time you return to the altar, to prayer, to the word, it's another blow to the enemy's plans. He's tried to discourage you by attacking your surroundings, but what he cannot touch is your seal. You are not fragile. You are forged, tested, proven. You've been through the fire and didn't burn because, like the Hebrew boys in Daniel 3, you were not alone. A fourth man stood with you, a presence that carried you through the heat and preserved your purpose. The flames exposed your mark, but they didn't consume your mission. And now, the attacks are shifting. You're entering a phase where the enemy's strategy is to exhaust rather than destroy, to drain your faith, to wear down your hope. But Galatians 6:9 speaks life into this season. Let us not be weary in well-doing, for in due season we shall reap, if we faint not. Chosen one, don't faint. The reaping is near. You have been fought because you carry freedom, and not just for you but for others. Your testimony will become a door. Your pain will become a map. Your endurance will become a lifeline. You are not just escaping warfare, you are turning it around for victory. You are the proof that hell cannot stop what heaven seals. You carry a light that interrupts blueprints from hell. Everywhere you go, the spiritual climate reacts. This isn't your imagination, it's the evidence of your mantle. You are not a passive presence. You are a divine disturbance to darkness. What you carry in your spirit causes demonic strategies to collapse before they reach their full execution. You are not always aware of it, but the enemy is. That's why atmospheres shift when you enter the room. The warfare intensifies around the truly awakened, those who are no longer lulled by comfort, those who are done trying to blend in. You are one of those. Your light is disruptive. It agitates spirits, hiding behind smiles. It convicts environments that thrive in compromise, and because of that, you have experienced resistance that feels personal, because it is personal to hell. Hell has written blueprints around your failure, plans that relied on you, remaining broken, remaining bitter, remaining blind. But every time you chose to heal, to rise, to pray again, you disrupted those blueprints. Every time you forgave, you untangled a snare. Every time you worshipped through your pain, you burned pages of demonic strategy. Your obedience has been louder than any lie. Your yes to God, even whispered in weakness, has caused alarms in hell. The enemy can't stand your perseverance because it means he must start over, again and again. He designed attacks to fracture your identity, but instead, they've revealed it. You know who you are now, and that knowing is a threat. Remember the story in Acts 16, when Paul and Silas were thrown into prison. Their praise caused a literal earthquake, shaking foundations, breaking chains, opening doors. That's what you carry. Your praise is not emotional, it's nuclear in the spirit. When you worship, systems tremble. When you pray, strategies collapse. You are not just enduring, you are intervening. This is why God's light in you must never dim. Matthew 5:14 says, "You are the light of the world. A city set on a hill cannot be hidden." The command is clear: shine anyway, even in pressure, even in loneliness, even when misunderstood. The darkness doesn't deserve your silence. The battle isn't waiting for you to be ready, it's already begun. And your light is already active. Some of you wonder why you're often the one in your family, your circle, your workplace that feels the spiritual weight. It's because you're the breaker. You're the one anointed to stop cycles. That generational stronghold. It senses you're different. That spirit of confusion. It knows your clarity is near. That whisper of despair. It fears your joy. Because your light is not for ambience, it's for war. Chosen one. This is why complacency can't settle on you. God won't let you be passive because your flame was never decorative. It was forged for deliverance. Even when you try to dim it, something keeps reigniting you. It's because your spirit knows. Someone's freedom is connected to your boldness. Someone's clarity is tied to your decision to speak up. You cannot afford to hide what was meant to illuminate. John 1:5 declares, "The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness has not overcome it." Read that again. Darkness has not overcome it. Not once. Not ever. And it will not start with you. What you carry is not just powerful, it's unkillable. God has placed within you a light that exposes, delivers, and resurrects. You are heaven's counterattack to every demonic agenda assigned to your region. And understand this: the enemy won't stop trying to distract you. He'll use exhaustion, delay, offense, comparison, but all of it is designed to distract your focus from the light you carry. Stay sharp. Stay lit. Stay surrendered. Your fire doesn't depend on feelings, it responds to oil. Keep your oil full. Stay in the secret place. That's where your glow is sustained. You don't need permission to shine. You don't need applause to obey. You don't need understanding to step forward. Your mark has already qualified you. Your identity already confirms you. All heaven is waiting for is your obedience. When you show up full of light, hell has no response but retreat. You were never designed to camouflage. The anointing on your life doesn't whisper, it declares. You were marked to carry glory into forgotten spaces, to walk into dry places and release rain, to enter tension and bring peace. You are a breaker, and your light is the first blow. The enemy's blueprints are detailed, but your obedience breaks the flow. The fire in you alters outcomes. You're not just reacting, you're rewriting. Every step you take in alignment is a strike against hell's structure. Every day you choose purpose over pleasure, truth over popularity, surrender over pride. You push back the tide of darkness. Chosen one, if you feel this word deep in your bones, if something in your spirit is burning with agreement, comment below. I carry light. Let darkness know. You are here. Let heaven know. You're ready. No more delay. You must step forward. Chosen one. There comes a moment where you must stop asking for signs and start walking in faith. That moment is now. Heaven has waited patiently. Mercy has made room. Grace has extended time. But the call cannot be delayed any longer. What has been stirring inside you is not imagination. It is divine urgency. The sound you've been hearing in your soul isn't pressure. It's the final trumpet of hesitation. You already know what you carry. You already sense the weight of it. You've heard the whispers, seen the dreams, felt the tug, but fear held you. Doubt muted you. Timing confused you. And while God has been merciful, He is now calling for movement. The assignment on your life is time-sensitive. The hour demands action. Romans 13:11 sounds the alarm. It is high time to awake out of sleep. For now is our salvation nearer than when we believed. Chosen one. This is not the season to nap spiritually. The stakes are too high. Your delay doesn't only cost you, it delays breakthroughs for others connected to your voice. Your obedience. Your courage. You've been equipped through fire, trained in hiddenness, refined through rejection. And all of it has been leading to this threshold, this moment, this chapter where God no longer asks gently, but commands with urgency. Step forward. There are destinies locked behind your yes. There are regions crying out for the sound you carry. There are generations waiting to walk paths your obedience will open. You're not just chosen for personal favor. You're chosen for territorial impact. And when you move, ripple effects are released into lives you'll never even meet. This is why the enemy intensified distractions, why your mental fatigue became unbearable, why familiar sins suddenly seemed inviting again. It wasn't random, it was a stall tactic. Hell knew if it could keep you second-guessing, it could keep you stationary. But that strategy ends here, because now the command from heaven is louder than the noise from the pit. Move. Like Moses at the edge of the Red Sea, you are standing between pressure and promise. Behind you is bondage. Ahead is breakthrough. But the waters won't part until you step. God told Moses in Exodus 14, "Shuwu, why do you cry to me? Tell the children of Israel to go forward." You've prayed. You've fasted. You've wept. Now it's time to go forward. Forward into boldness. Forward into your anointing. Forward into visibility. Forward into surrender. Forward into forgiveness. Forward into truth. The mark on your life isn't meant to collect dust. The oil you carry was not poured for you to stand still. You are ready, not because you feel ready, but because you've been made ready. God has done the work. He's done the pruning. He's done the molding. Now He's demanding the movement. And when you move, you'll find that what looked immovable will shift. What looked impossible will bow, because heaven always responds to alignment. Joshua 1:9 reminds us, "Have I not commanded you? Be strong and of good courage. Do not be afraid, nor be dismayed. For the Lord your God is with you, wherever you go." The call to move doesn't come with abandonment, it comes with accompaniment. God isn't launching you into the unknown. He's walking with you, warring for you, speaking through you. And chosen one, as you rise into position, know this ministry walks with you. These messages aren't random videos, they're divine confirmations, set to meet you in key crossroads of your journey. If what you've read so far has stirred your soul, consider doing more than consuming. Engage. Like this message. Share it with someone else who's standing at their threshold. Let your obedience become the nudge someone else needs. If you've been following but haven't subscribed, now is the time. Let this become your prophetic checkpoint, a stream of clarity in a world of noise. And if you feel led, sow into this work. Support this message not just with words, but with seeds. Every contribution, big or small, extends the reach of these truths. You're not giving to a screen, you're giving into souls, into futures, into fire. But whether or not you give, hear this above all, you must move. No more rehearsing old failures. No more consulting your fears. No more waiting for ideal circumstances. You are not being sent out empty, you're being released full of glory. What you lack in experience, God makes up in grace. What you lack in clarity, He supplies in presence. You are not walking into this alone. All of heaven is backing your steps. The cost of delay is rising. The urgency of the hour demands a decision. Not next week, not next year. Now, the voice of God is clear. Step forward. Your legacy depends on it. Your healing depends on it. Your influence depends on it. The marked do not stay still. They respond. And now, so must you. There is a stirring happening around you, but more importantly within you. You can feel it now. The pressure, the anticipation, the weight. It's not anxiety. It's not stress. It's the divine tension that precedes manifestation. The moment you've been waiting for isn't far, it's at the door. The delay is lifting. The fog is clearing. And what has been hidden in you is about to be revealed. The manifestation is not simply about success or status. It's about purpose made visible. You've carried promises that no one else could see. Prophetic words you dared not repeat aloud. Desires too holy for casual conversation. And for a long time, you questioned if any of it would ever become real. But the season is shifting, and God is saying, it's time for what I planted to come forth. Romans 8:19 says, for the earnest expectation of the creation eagerly waits for the revealing of the sons of God. That revealing isn't just about heaven, it's about you. Creation is groaning for you to rise, not just as a believer, but as a carrier of God's presence. There is something in your life that must now be seen, not for applause, but for impact, not to build your name, but to fulfill your assignment. You've been hidden for a purpose, covered, preserved, but not forever. When something is marked by God, concealment always precedes commission. Look at David, anointed in private, rejected by brothers, then summoned into a battle that would reveal what had been placed in him all along. You too are being summoned. The battlefield is ready, not to break you, but to expose your power. The moments of stretching, the quiet seasons, the losses, they've all been preparing you. Nothing was wasted. The silence trained your ears to hear God. The suffering taught you compassion. The tension built endurance. And now, the layers are peeling back. The fruit is ripening. The oil is ready to be poured. What heaven knew about you is about to be undeniable. Don't look to the crowd for confirmation. Don't wait for permission from people who never saw your seed season. They weren't meant to approve your becoming. They weren't present when the blueprint was given. God is your witness, your promoter, your sustainer. When He reveals you, no man can obscure you. When He sends you, no gate of hell can block the flow. It will start subtly. A shift in conversation, a door you didn't knock on, an opportunity you thought passed you by, and suddenly alignment. The manifestation of destiny is not always dramatic. Sometimes it unfolds in whispers, in nudges, in divine connections that seem accidental but were written into time. You are entering that flow now. But hear this. Manifestation doesn't mean ease. It means clarity. It means you'll finally know why you had to endure so much pain. Why God said no when you begged for yes. Why the wilderness lasted so long. Because now, the pieces are converging. The vision is becoming reality. And the real version of you, the marked, mature, ready, you, is stepping forward. 2 Corinthians 4:7 says, "But we have this treasure in jars of clay to show that this all-surpassing power is from God and not from us." The manifestation of your calling is not to glorify your strength, but to expose God's. You're just the vessel, but what you carry, it's kingdom treasure, prophetic fire, generational healing, a sound that breaks chains, a life that becomes light in dark places. You've been asking God to open doors, but some doors only open when you show up in identity, not in security, not apology. Identity, the version of you that knows you're marked, that moves with purpose, that speaks with authority. When that version shows up, doors respond, not out of politeness, but because heaven is speaking through you. It's not arrogance to acknowledge your calling, it's agreement. Manifestation requires agreement with God's plan, not man's opinion. The moment you say yes fully, not just in song, but in surrender, you give God legal access to move through you at levels you've never imagined. This is that moment. You are at the edge of revealing, and don't be afraid of what will change. Yes, some people will grow distant. Yes, some circles won't recognize you, but that's the cost of clarity. Manifestation always separates, but it also elevates. You won't walk alone, you'll walk aligned, with purpose, with presence, with the power of one who has endured the hidden place and emerged unashamed. You are not being promoted to please people, you are being positioned to fulfill prophecy. And the prophecy is this: you will walk in what you once only dreamed of. You will speak what you once only prayed. You will become what heaven always knew you were. You're not just chosen, one, you're covered. There is a difference. Being chosen speaks of assignment, of selection, of destiny. But being covered speaks of protection, of alignment, of preservation. God did not simply pick you out, He wrapped you in His hand. He didn't just call you, He clothed you. And that covering has kept you through battles that would have devoured someone else. You've been walking with a layer of supernatural insulation, even when you didn't realize it. That time you made a decision you knew was out of alignment, but the consequences didn't consume you. Covered. That situation where others were ruined by exposure, but you were somehow spared. Covered. That season where your strength was gone but you didn't collapse. Covered. Psalm 91. 4 declares, He will cover you with His feathers. and under his wings you will find refuge. His faithfulness will be your shield and rampart. This is not poetic exaggeration. This is spiritual infrastructure. You've been walking in environments hostile to your calling, yet untouched. You've been moving through warfare zones without collapse, because your life is not exposed. It's guarded. This is why you've often been isolated, not because people rejected you, but because God was hiding you, shielding you from premature exposure, preventing unnecessary contamination. You were not delayed, you were being preserved. There were rooms you didn't enter, not because you weren't ready, but because they weren't safe for someone carrying your level of oil. Your covering is the reason the plan of the enemy failed again and again. You didn't survive because you were lucky. You survived because the blood still speaks, because angels still guard, because the name of the Lord still surrounds the righteous like a fortress. You've been carried by divine mercy into places you didn't even know how to pray for. Even when you strayed, God never removed his hand. That's the mystery of being covered. You can be corrected without being uncovered. You can be humbled without being humiliated. You can be broken without being discarded. That's what covenant love looks like. He covers what he intends to restore. Isaiah 54 certain affirms, "No weapon formed against you shall prosper, and every tongue which rises against you in judgment you shall condemn." This is the heritage of the servants of the Lord. That's your portion. Chosen one, not because you earned it, but because you're his. Because the calling on your life is too costly to leave unguarded. That argument you avoided, covered. That opportunity that slipped past, only for something better to arrive later. Covered. That temptation you almost fell into, but somehow didn't. Covered. Even in your failures, there was a boundary line the enemy couldn't cross. You are not walking freely, you are walking sheltered. Some of the people who left you were removed for your protection. Some of the dreams that didn't manifest were postponed to preserve your foundation. Some of the delays were divine barriers. Because when you're covered, the pace is often slower, but the preservation is guaranteed. You weren't overlooked. You were guarded for growth. Don't let the current storm make you question your shelter. Even when it rains, you are not abandoned. Even when it thunders, you are not exposed. The ark may be shaking, but it is not sinking. You've been asking, God, where are you in this? And he responds, over you, surrounding you, still covering you. You've walked through betrayal and still carry peace. You've suffered loss and still maintain clarity. You've faced accusation and still move with integrity. That's not just resilience, that's evidence of divine shelter. You've been tucked into the shadow of the Almighty, and no power of darkness has been able to snatch you out. And here's the truth you must hold. This covering is not seasonal, it's covenant. God didn't start protecting you when you began behaving well. He covered you in the wilderness, in the rebellion, in the silence, in the doubt. You are covered because you are claimed, because the hand that chose you refuses to release you. And in this moment, if you can feel this truth wrapping around your soul like a blanket, if you sense the weight of this word, confirming what you already know, deep down, comment the number 444 below. 444, a number of divine shelter. Angelic reinforcement. Heaven's signature of protection. Declare it. Seal it. Let darkness see that you know what's covering you. You are not just chosen, you are covered. And that changes everything. The mark on your life was not earned, It was purchased. You carry a seal that was bought at the highest cost heaven could pay. This is not symbolic. This is not poetic. This is legal. Spiritual transaction. You were redeemed, not with gold or silver, but with blood, the blood of Jesus Christ, poured out on a hill called Calvary, became the signature of ownership over your soul. And from that day forward, hell lost its claim. 1 Peter 1:18-19 reminds us clearly, "For you know that it was not with perishable things such as silver or gold that you were redeemed, but with the precious blood of Christ, a lamb without blemish or defect." That blood didn't just wash your sin, it marked your identity. It shouted over you, belonging. It whispered in the courts of heaven, "This one is mine." Before you were formed in your mother's womb, the plan for your rescue was already written. The Lamb was slain before the foundation of the world. Revelation 13. You were not an afterthought. You were not picked up out of pity. You were purchased by prophetic intent. The blood knew your name before you could speak it. It claimed you when you had nothing to offer in return. And that claim, the seal upon your soul, is why you walk with such gravity. It's why the atmosphere shifts around you. It's why you sense spiritual pressure when others feel nothing. You are blood-marked, and that mark draws both heaven's help and hell's hostility. You don't just walk with favor, you walk with evidence of being ransomed. This mark is not invisible in the spirit realm. It glows. It declares. It speaks. It stands as a sign over your life. This one was bought. This one was saved. This one cannot be touched without heaven's notice. When you pray, your prayers ascend on the authority of blood. When you worship, the throne hears not just your voice, but the seal on your spirit. Even when you fell, the mark remained. Even when you walked away, the blood still cried out for you. Hebrews 12:24 says that Jesus' blood speaks better things than that of Abel. While Abel's blood cried for justice, Christ's blood cries for mercy. It speaks intercession. It speaks covering. It speaks hope into the very places where you lost your way. Your healing, your restoration, your new beginning, it is all tied to that blood. Every spiritual promise you are standing on has been made possible because of it. You didn't earn access to this calling. You inherited it through the cross. You didn't manufacture the favor you were named in the will of the one who died and rose again. The weight you feel, the responsibility you carry, that's the price of inheritance. You were not just saved for comfort. You were redeemed for impact. The blood bought more than your rescue. It paid for your transformation. It authorized your mantle. It empowered your voice. And it demands your surrender. And that surrender, it's not passive. It's powerful. Because when you truly realize what was paid for you, you begin to walk differently. You stop explaining your calling. You stop apologizing for your boldness. You stop entertaining what cheapens your value. When you've been bought with blood, you don't bargain with darkness. 1 Corinthians 6:20 makes it clear. You were bought with a price. Therefore glorify God in your body and in your spirit, which are God's. Your entire being belongs to the one who bled for you. Your thoughts, your time, your gifts, they are no longer yours to waste. You've been redeemed to reflect, to radiate, to reveal the glory of the one who owns you fully. And the enemy hates this, because every time he sees you rise again, he sees the proof of his defeat. The blood is a receipt he cannot erase. It reminds him that no matter how hard he hits, you are not his. That's why he attacks identity so violently. If he can't touch your salvation, he'll try to cloud your vision. But even in confusion, the mark remains. Even in weakness, the blood speaks. You are not fragile. You are forged, redeemed, sealed, covered in crimson covenant. You are not just saved from something, you are saved for something. And now, more than ever, that something is stirring, awakening, approaching. The blood didn't just seal your past, it's unlocking your future. Walk in that reality. Live with that awareness. You are not common. You are not random. You are not temporary. You are blood-bought, and that makes you unshakable. The angels recognize it. The darkness fears it, and the earth is about to witness it. Heaven whispers your name. In strategy rooms, chosen one. You are not simply known on earth. Your name is etched in the intelligence network of heaven. You have been the subject of divine conversations, discussions, not of your worth, but of your role. Angels have been briefed about you. Prophets have seen glimpses of your movement. Intercessors have prayed for someone they've never met you. All because your assignment plays a key role in the unfolding strategy of heaven's plan. This may feel heavy, but it's not pressure, it's placement. God does not forget his weapons. You were crafted for a very specific reason, a spiritual key designed to unlock exact moments in history. You are not walking blindly through this world. You are walking a timeline that heaven foresaw long before your birth. And in that timeline, you are a catalyst. Jeremiah 1:5 is not poetic, it is precise. Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. Before you were born, I set you apart. I appointed you as a prophet to the nations. This wasn't just true for Jeremiah, it is true for every marked one. You were foreknown, foreseen, formed in purpose, not in accident. Heaven didn't decide your role after your arrival. It announced your role before your conception. The spiritual realm is not chaotic. It is deeply ordered, and within that order, your life has been assigned coordinates, not just where you live, but what you carry, your giftings, your wounds, your recovery. All of it is being leveraged for glory. When you survived what should have killed you, heaven marked that day as a turning point. When you said yes in private, angels recorded it as a legal shift. Your life is part of something far bigger than you imagined. In 2 Kings 6, when Elisha's servant panicked at the enemy army surrounding them, Elisha prayed, "Lord, open his eyes." And suddenly, the servant saw angelic armies, chariots of fire, positioned all around them. The divine strategies had been in motion the entire time, he just couldn't see them. You too have been surrounded, even when unaware. And your name, it's in their orders. There are rooms in the spiritual realm where names are spoken, assignments are delegated, and battle strategies are written. Your name echoes there, not for fame, but for function. When you pray, the ripple hits eternity. When you worship, frequencies are released that confound the enemy. Your very existence is a calculated act of spiritual disruption. That's why you've always felt the pressure to stay silent. That's why discouragement seems to hit you harder than others. The enemy is not afraid of your talent, he's terrified of your activation. Because once you step into full awareness of your role, once you believe that your name is backed by divine strategy, nothing will silence you again. Psalm 139:16 says, "All the days ordained for me were written in your book before one of them came to be." That book includes chapters you haven't walked into yet, assignments you haven't yet unlocked, encounters waiting to be fulfilled. And now, the page is turning. You are moving from preparation to participation. Heaven's whisper is becoming a shout. Your name is being called forward. This is not fantasy. This is kingdom protocol. God chooses the foolish things of the world to shame the wise, the weak to shame the strong. Why? Because when his strategies manifest, no one can claim the glory but him. You, with all your scars, all your stumbles, you are the perfect fit for what heaven intends to release. You don't need a platform to be strategic. You don't need a title to be seen. Your obedience is what positions you. It's your yes in secret that activates blueprints in the spirit. You are being summoned, not because you're the loudest, but because you're aligned. Even the warfare confirms it. The delay, the distractions, the unexpected losses, they are not indicators of failure. They are signs that the enemy caught wind of your role. But what he knows, heaven already accounted for. God does not build fragile soldiers. He builds those who've been through refining fire. And now, the room is waiting. The assignment is rising. And your name, it's still on the table, still in the plan, still favored, still chosen. It's time to wear the crown. Chosen one. No more dodging. No more deferring. No more shrinking into the shadows, pretending you're not who heaven says you are. You've been hiding behind humility, using your past as an excuse, letting fear pose as wisdom. But the time for delay has ended. The robe has been tailored. The crown has been forged. And the throne of responsibility is calling your name. You were marked to reign not in ego, but in purpose. There's a royal DNA running through your spirit. You feel it when you walk into rooms and the atmosphere changes. You feel it when others look to you for stability in storms. You feel it when your discernment sharpens without warning. That's not luck. That's legacy. It's your inheritance rising to the surface. Revelation 5. Isa speaks clearly. You have made them to be a kingdom and priests to serve our God, and they will reign on the earth. This is not just a heavenly promise, it's an earthly reality. You were created to lead, to govern spiritual territory, to walk in authority that terrifies darkness. You've been trained for this moment. Your crown has been waiting not for perfection, but for surrender. You've tried to talk yourself out of it, said things like, "I'm not ready," or "someone else is better." But God doesn't choose based on comfort, He chooses based on alignment. You've been aligned through fire, refined through storms. Your crown isn't a reward for ease, it's a symbol of survival with faith intact. The oil was poured for this very reason. It wasn't just to heal you, but to commission you. The anointing you carry wasn't meant to sit idle. You weren't meant to watch others wear what was meant for your head. David didn't stay with the sheep when the throne called. Esther didn't stay silent when her voice was needed. Neither will you. There's a realm of authority that only responds to ownership. And when you step into your identity, you activate the inheritance. You begin to command what you once begged for. You walk into rooms knowing the weight you carry. Not in pride, but in power. This is your Esther moment. Your David hour. Your Joseph rise. And yes, it will cost you. Not popularity. Not applause. But comfort. Distractions. Your right to stay small. The crown doesn't fit on heads bowed by fear. It rests on those who stand, even trembling, and say yes. Lord, even if you don't feel ready, heaven says, You're appointed. Even if you still wrestle with doubt, God says, the crown is yours. The call is clear. Wear it. Speak like it. Move like it. Pray like it. Worship like it. Plan like it. Build like it. Stop looking for a blueprint. You are the blueprint. Others are watching your obedience to find the courage for their own. Your yes is a door for many. Your rising is a signal to those still sitting in silence. And as you step forward, know that you are not walking alone. This ministry stands with you, voice to voice, spirit to spirit. If these messages have stirred something inside you, if they've helped you realign with purpose, don't let that fire fade. Like this message, share it with someone who's been dodging their crown. Let them know it's time. Subscribe if you haven't already. This isn't just content, it's confirmation. Stay connected to the words that speak to the deepest parts of you. And if you feel led, partner with this work. Whether it's a seed of encouragement or a financial offering, your support fuels the flow. It multiplies the message. It helps bring more clarity, more crowns, more commission to others walking where you've walked. But above all, hear this. You are no longer allowed to act like you're not chosen. You are no longer permitted to play small when the crown has already been assigned. No one else can wear what was made for your head. No one else can walk where you've been summoned. Stand up, chosen one. Straighten your spine. Clear your throat. Wear the crown. Others may fall, but you stand, not because you are stronger, not because you have had fewer trials, not because your path has been smooth. No, you stand because you are anchored. Your foundation is not built on convenience, but on covenant. While others have bent under pressure, shifted with opinion, or abandoned their call for comfort, you have remained, not perfectly, not without stumbles, but faithfully. You are still standing. There's something different about your spiritual spine. It has been forged in fire, tested in the wilderness, and reinforced by the word. You didn't get here by chance. You got here because the storms tried you and failed, because the enemy threw everything he could, and still, you rose again, each time heavier with wisdom, sharper in discernment, deeper in surrender. Ephesians 6:13 commands, therefore put on the full armor of God, so that when the day of evil comes, you may be able to stand your ground. And after you have done everything, to stand. That's your reality. You have done everything, and still, you remain. Not out of arrogance, out of assignment, because there are still battles to win. Still, souls attached to your endurance. Your consistency has not gone unnoticed in heaven. You didn't chase attention. You didn't crave applause. You remained. When others pivoted, you prayed. When others compromised, you fasted. When others grew cold, you chose the flame. That is what separates you, not your gifting, but your grip on truth. You refused to let go. Even when your arms trembled, there were moments you should have given up. You were misunderstood, misused, overlooked. People praised others while ignoring your contribution. But your validation was never in their eyes. It was in God's voice. And that voice kept whispering, "Stand." And so you did. Standing doesn't always look like victory. Sometimes it's quiet, hidden, weary. But the root is deeper than appearance. You've put your trust not in feelings, but in the faithfulness of a God who has never let you go. You've clung to Him, not because you had to, but because you know too much to walk away now. Psalm 125. 1 says, "Those who trust in the Lord are like Mount Zion, which cannot be shaken, but endures forever." That's who you are. Immovable, unshakable, built to last. Your life is not just a testimony of survival, it is a signal to the spirit realm. The remnant still remains. The marked still move. The faithful still endure. You've watched others fade out of alignment, lose their hunger, become casualties of distraction. And yes, it grieved you, because your heart has always been tender. You've tried to help, to speak truth, to pull them back. But at some point, God whispered, "Let them go, but don't follow." And you obeyed. You remained, and that obedience has preserved you. Your assignment has always required endurance. God never promised ease. He promised it presence, and His presence has never failed you. In every dark night, He was there. In every dry season, He still spoke. Even when you questioned His silence, you knew He hadn't moved. That knowing, that rootedness is why you are still upright when others collapsed. This strength isn't yours, it's His, flowing through your yes. Isaiah 40:31 confirms it. "But those who wait on the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings like eagles. They shall run and not be weary. They shall walk and not faint." You are the proof. You didn't faint. You didn't fold. You stood. And now, as the shaking continues around you, you remain planted, not by willpower, but by revelation. You know the times. You sense the urgency. And so, while others panic, you prepare. While others retreat, you rise. This is not your breakdown, it's your becoming. You are the steady hand in the storm, the unshaken voice in the chaos, the one others will look to when the systems of man fail. You are not loud, but you are lasting. Because you were built for endurance. You were made to carry weight. You are not just a survivor, you are a signpost that God still preserves His own. You have been marked to multiply glory. This was never just about you, not your breakthrough alone, not your healing alone, not even your calling alone. From the beginning, God's intent was that your life would become a torch, igniting others, illuminating dark spaces, multiplying what was deposited into you. What He poured into your spirit in private was always meant to overflow into nations, generations, and atmospheres beyond your reach. Genesis 12:2 echoes this intention. "I will bless you, and you will be a blessing." The blessing was never meant to terminate with you. It was meant to flow through you. The mark on your life carries within it a spiritual transmission, a generational fire, a release of glory that doesn't stop with your own elevation, but expands into the lives of those connected to your obedience. You've seen glimpses of it. People transformed simply because you were present. Hearts softened after conversations with you. Environments that felt lighter when you entered. You thought it was coincidence, but it was commission. You were operating in your mark, multiplying the presence of God without even realizing it. The Lord has invested deeply in you, not for containment, but for distribution. The refining process you endured wasn't just for your sanctification. It was for the sanctification of every space you're called to touch. God doesn't waste oil, and He doesn't anoint for entertainment. The weight you carry is for activation, to awaken dry bones, to realign atmospheres, to reveal the beauty of holiness in places that forgot what glory feels like. This is why you've been fought so fiercely. The enemy didn't just want to silence you, he wanted to prevent the multiplication. Because what flows from you has the potential to disrupt bloodlines of bondage, to realign destinies, to reverse curses. You are not just called to carry fire, you are called to spread it. Jesus said in John 15, "This is to my Father's glory, that you bear much fruit, showing yourselves to be my disciples." Fruit is not optional. It is the evidence of intimacy, the proof of real surrender. And you, chosen one, are stepping into a season of multiplication. What once was seed, what once was prayer, what once was private obedience will now become public impact. You've carried it long enough. Now it's time to release it. The wisdom, the anointing, the testimony, the vision. You've been pregnant with promise, but heaven is declaring, birth it now. This is not just about timing, it's about fullness. You are not leaking potential. You are stepping into overflow. That overflow is not to flaunt, it is to feed. Feed the broken, feed the dry, feed the nations. Multiplication is not always seen in numbers. It's seen in depth. A single word you speak in obedience could heal someone's hidden trauma. A moment of intercession could reroute a life. A quiet act of compassion could break a spirit of rejection that's lasted decades. You are a multiplier, not by noise, but by obedience. Acts 2 shows what happens when marked ones move in unity and power. Tongues of fire, voices raised, the gospel spreading across cultures and nations in a single day. That wasn't just history, it's a blueprint. What God did through a handful of surrendered vessels, He is ready to do again. And you are one of them. Heaven's glory is weighty. It's holy. It demands surrender. And you have given that over and over again, through tears, through confusion, through long seasons of silence. You remained. And now, the reward is not just survival, it is impact. The kind of impact that shifts timelines, the kind of impact that outlives you. You are a carrier of divine multiplication. And as you walk forward, the glory resting on you will not only go before you, it will remain after you. You are not the end of the story. You are the one who starts something that cannot be stopped. Chosen one. If you're still here listening, watching, reading, it means the fire hasn't gone out. It means something deep within you recognizes this truth. You were never ordinary. You were never random. You were never meant to go unnoticed. The hand of heaven has been heavy on you. And now the hour is stirring. By now you know you've been marked, not for status, not for comfort, but for glory. What's in you isn't just for survival, it's for awakening. And someone needs what's inside you. Someone's breakthrough is hidden in your obedience. Someone's healing is tied to your rising. You are not the end of the story. You are the beginning of a chain reaction. Heaven has waited to release. So don't walk away from this and go back to silence. Let what you carry breathe. Let it speak. Let it shine. And if this message reached you, share it. Don't keep to yourself what was meant to multiply. Be the bridge for someone else's awakening. If you've felt the weight of this word, stay connected. Subscribe. Let this voice keep reaching you when the world gets loud again. And if you feel led, support this work. It helps this message keep flowing to the ones still wandering, still searching, still waiting to hear that they too have been chosen. You're not done. You're just beginning. You are marked. You are rising. And heaven will not pass you by.